it's harder areas to get to. It's harder areas to score. But we need not just him, everybody. We need to take a page from what they did in the second period, and that's just continually get pucks in and grind and get pucks to the net, and expect that those bounces will be there. We'll do that in Game 4.
Welcome in, Judd's Hockey Show. Judd and Declan. We are turning the page. We are going to preview Game 4. We need to forget Game 3 because, quite frankly, the last 40 minutes of Game 3 was awful. It was old school Wild. It was everything that you don't want to see if you want the Wild to advance and think they have a chance. But there's got to be a way, Declan.
Mm-hmm.
There's got to be a way here to help purge the memory of Game 3. Now, we're taping this, or recording, if that's the right word, with the youth of America now, at 12:40 on Friday, right?
Yep.
Afternoon. So how does one go about forgetting what occurred in Game 3? I'm beginning to think it might be cause for some day drinking.
Goodness.
Day drinking. That's right. Hold on.
Unbelievable. You are unreal. Wow.
Hold on. I got a little. Yeah. Go ahead.
I can't believe I'm the one not drinking on this show. I mean, it's not too shocking, I guess. Like, it's not a complete shell shocker, but
I got the Furious out.
Yep.
I got the Furious out for a little afternoon, Friday afternoon, day drinking.
Good for you.
So I can purge the memory of the crap that we saw. Wait.
Okay. There it is. That's
better.
Sweet IPA.
Better
you
now.
go.
Better. I'm feeling much, much more enthusiastic. All right, so let's get right to it. We have, after 3 games of no lineup changes by Dean Evason, and there had been talk, I think it was talk among us more so, about Marcus Johansson possibly being a healthy scratch in Game 3. He was brought back, played on the third line, broke his arm, unfortunately, in the first period of Game 3. And so Dean will be forced now to make changes. Johansson clearly done for the season, and likely my guess is he's done with the Wild because he's going to be a free agent. I don't foresee them re-signing him. So we either go Zach Parise or Matthew Boldy, or as Chip Scoggins alluded to us filling in for Mackie and Judd today, Declan Goff. And I saw friend of the show, Michael Russo, tweet about this as well. What if there are 2 changes, and what if Matthew Boldy, who I think we both agree should play before Parise, comes in, and Parise comes in, and somebody else gets scratched? What do you think? What do your Spidey Declan senses tell you about what the Wild is going to do with Johansson now out?
Disclaimer as we start here, before I give my answer. We're recording this on a Friday. This isn't airing till Saturday, so the news will likely come out that what has happened, or the lineup changes that will be taking place, will probably be official by the time people are consuming and listening to this.
I don't know about that. This is the NHL, my man. I think you're going to have to wait till pregame warmups to see who the hell takes the ice.
That's also very true. And if that's the case, great for our podcast's sake. My Spidey senses tell me Parise plays and Boldy doesn't. That's what my Spidey said. I don't like my Spidey senses here, by the way. I don't want to defer to them. I just have a pretty good feeling that they're going to go with a veteran. They're not going to throw the rookie, even though Boldy is the faster, more dynamic player you need to match up with the Vegas Golden Knights. They're going to look at Parise's history. They're going to say, we don't want to throw a rookie into the fire. Judging by Bill Guerin's comments about not putting him in right away or giving him a taste even at the end of the regular season, I don't think it'll be Boldy. I unfortunately think it's going to be Zach. And with Marcus Johansson, who does have a broken arm, that is official. That has come out. I think Parise basically I don't think he'll take his spot on the third line necessarily as I freeze, because I'm still so shocked that could happen. But I do think Parise draws in.
I think you're probably right. I find it interesting that it's being thrown out there, though, that there could be a chance that they actually scratch another player, make him a healthy scratch, and then we see Boldy get in there as well. Now, logically, here's my solution. Like, just trying to think like Dean thinks, okay? Because Dean's not, I wouldn't call Dean a risk taker, would you? Like, no. He doesn't like to go to the edge of the cliff and look. So my guess is that Parise, before being scratched, was playing on the fourth line. My guess is if Parise's the only one to draw in. He does not draw in as Johansson's replacement on the third line. I think Bukestad gets promoted to right wing third line. And I think that Parise then is the left wing and Bonino becomes the right wing with Nico Sturm on the fourth line. I'd like, if you can do this, Declan, I'd like you to do me a favor. Can you look up the game 3 analytics that you like to use for Bukestad's performance?
Sure.
Because there's some people that think Bukestad might be scratched and that would be the boldy place. First of all, I think Bukestad has more speed than Parise at this point in Zach's career, which is a sad thing. But was Bukestad terrible? It seemed to me from the eye test that he actually played more once Johansson came out, and in the second period of times actually looked okay in that role.
Yeah. Judging in that 5-2 final, the Wild as a team had better Corsi, shockingly, even though Vegas destroyed them in the shots on goal category. That's because the Wild had such a dominant first period. That also lingers there. But Wild on ice, let's see here as I try to pull it up in time. Nick Bukestad in game 3 played 8:33 5-on-5. He had a Corsi 4 of 9 and a Corsi against of 13, so that's 40%. So he was being outpossessed while on the ice.
Okay.
However, as you and I have said before, the problem sometimes with Corsi, and especially in the role players that Bukestad's playing, he's playing a fourth line role. He's not necessarily generating offense. He's trying to suppress shots, and they're going to be taking shots. They're going to be definitely allowing more than they're creating. If you can be a 50-50 fourth line player, that's honestly a win. So analytically speaking, he didn't have a great game. From the eye test, from what we saw, I didn't notice him in a bad way. I don't think he had a poor game. I wouldn't say he had a strong game either. I could see him bumping up. This is too much changes, but what I would prefer to do is I'd put Sturm up to the third line with Fiala. I would bump Rask down to the fourth line with Bonino and Bukestad, and I would put Bonino and Parise, excuse me, and I would put Bukestad with Sturm and Fiala. That's what I would do. I know that's a lot of changes. We're moving like 3 different deck chairs on the Titanic there.
Dean's not doing that. But
yeah, that is what I would do. Actually, the player who had a very, very rough game Corsi-wise was Nick Bonino. Nick Bonino had a 23% Corsi 4, which is horrendously bad.
Interesting.
But at the same time, he sells out. He blocks shots. He takes more licks than he creates. So that's where sometimes with Corsi, you got again balance that eye test and balance what it is, and not just look at it from a 30,000-foot view.
How did the Wild defenseman fare? Since you're checking that out right now, I'd be curious. It felt like Brodin had a really shaky game for Brodin. Like he's ordinarily so steady. Well,
Spurgeon and Suter had a very rough game in terms of shots created versus shots allowed. Their Corsi 4 was 30%, which is pretty bad. So they weren't generating a lot. In terms of Brodin and Dumba, they actually allowed less shots than Spurgeon and Brodin. Allowed the same amount of shots as basically as Sturgeon and Brodin, but they also created some, so they offset a little bit more.
Yep.
But I agree with you that in general, eye test wise, Brodin had a rare off night in Game 3 on Friday evening. He did not look as strong. Dumba I actually thought did have a good game. I thought Dumba in back-to-back games so far.
Early on, Declan, he was great. He came out again, much like Game 2. He came out shooting. I love when he does that. I mean, that's his upside. That's what makes him different than Brodin and Suter and Spurgeon. Well, Spurgeon will shoot, but yeah, I thought early on Dumba was set for a big game. He was really shooting. He appeared confident, and then it's hard. But I mean, the whole team waned so badly. It's hard for me to point at just one guy.
Right. But yeah, I mean, you need better play overall if you're going to win Game 4. It's not even close. I mean, it was a joke how you played in the last 40 minutes. Refs aside.
And let's go here off that point. You've now played 3 games in this series. You're going into Game 4 that we're previewing right now, and you have 4 goals, I believe, in 3 games. Now you've won a game, so the parallel I'm about to draw is not exact, but you know what this is starting to feel a little bit like? A Minnesota Twins playoff series. Because we're sweating a lot of stuff that we should sweat, but if you can't score, it doesn't matter. And here's where I have a problem with last night. So in Game 1, Cam Talbot won you Game 1, and Fleury was fantastic. Talbot outperformed him, which was great. In Game 2, Fleury stood on his head, and he was outstanding, and he won that game. And okay, it happens. I thought that you played hard. I thought that you played well. Game 3, you got to Fleury. Like, you scored 2 first period goals. Could have been 3 if not for the disallowed goal because of the offsides. And I don't want to say he looked flustered, but he certainly did not look impenetrable, which he had been previously, Declan. And then you got 9 shots in the final 2 periods. And credit to the Golden Knights. They played great. Credit to the Golden Knights. They've got a game plan that I'm sure, as you said in talking about Corsi, suppress shots. But all of that being said, 9 shots at home, 16 shots for the game, which I believe set the Wild home playoff game record for fewest shots, and I think tied their franchise record, 16 shots, 7 of those in the first period. So this feels a little bit like the last 2 years of Twins conversations right now, right? Because like we're talking about the pitching and the bullpen and blah, blah, blah. And then, of course, it all comes back to, yeah, but did you score a lot of runs? And it's like, no, you didn't score many runs at all. And so it worries me a little bit, and I think it should concern the Wild that Fleury looked like he was being pushed last night, and he gave up 2 goals, and then he gave up a third. And yes, it was disallowed, but I mean, it was a legitimate workman-like goal that X scored, and that was it. It just went away. I mean, that I don't care what the Golden Knights are doing. You've got to find a way to generate offense consistently. And it doesn't have to be unbelievable chances, but 9 shots in 2 periods. And here's the problem too. Kirill Kaprizov's on your team. Like, I appreciate that Vegas is obviously doing things to contain him. And I appreciate the fact that the playoffs are a different animal. There's a lot less time and space. All of those things are true, and they're all cliches and true. But what have we talked about, Declan, all year long? The Wild finally has an offensive superstar, like a guy that you can turn to. And you have to find ways, and he has to participate in this, of not disappearing. Like, we can't get to the end of this series and just say, well, they did a great job on Kirill, and if that happens, the series is done. I guess my question now is, for game 4, what's the counterpunch here? Because you've got to start to find creative ways schematically. I'm not even talking about line juggling at this point. I'm talking about flat out schematically to at least try and create opportunities, because a repeat of 9 shots on goal in 2 periods, you'll be done in 2 more games.
Yeah, it's unacceptable. I mean, another big reason why the Wild's course didn't look as bad as it did in game 3 was because Greenway, Foligno, and Ek were absolute beasts. I mean, they had another very, very strong game. They were creating chances. They did a good job suppressing. They have been your go-to line throughout the course of the postseason. And we knew that, by the way. We knew that line was going to be tasked with that. And we also knew most likely that line was going to be playing the most minutes. The issue is basically, every other player around them has not lived up to expectations. Kirill has been shut down. Like, let's be honest. I know he's created some plays for Ryan Hartman in game 1, and he did set up a beautiful goal for Hartman in game 3. But in general, he's been held in check. He's been held in check, and this is what happens in the postseason. Star players get held in check, and you have to figure out a way to get Kaprizov going. And credit Vegas. Now, I mean, it's not just like, hey, Kirill, like, why can't you just flip it on? Like, why can't you just take it over? Vegas is doing a good job of shutting him down, so they deserve credit for that. At the end of the day, Ryan Hartman shouldn't be generating the most chances for this team. Like, Ryan Hartman should not be doing that. Jordan Greenway, I actually think, has had a very, very strong series. But again, Jordan Greenway shouldn't be the one who I'm circling saying he's having the strongest series so far. You need Kaprizov. You need Fiala. You need these guys to get their game going ASAP. I mean, look at what Vegas is doing. Alex Tuch's being a stud right now. And I think there's a little bit extra motivation there because of his former team that they traded him. But Tuch is rolling. And Tuch is a young stud for them that they will have for years to come. And he's able to get things going. So if you're a Wild fan and you're frustrated that Kaprizov and Fiala haven't been able to get their motors rolling, I hear you and I feel you. You need those players to start stepping up. You absolutely do.
And in game 2, Fiala had 8 shots on goal, and probably 4 of them were high danger chances. And Fleury was great. So I had no problem with that. I mean, that was what you want. They were getting him chances, and he was taking shots. But in game 3, the Wild disappeared so badly in the last 2 periods of play that you couldn't tell. And like I thought in the first period last night, the entire team was flying. The Wild was fantastic. And I thought Greenway was great. On the disallowed goal, he did a ton of work. Like he's the one who went into the corner, got the puck, I think centered it. And so like he did a lot of things there. And then again, in the last two periods, I didn't see him. The only guy that I truly thought I saw a lot from the Foligno Greenway line in the last two periods was Foligno, who I thought worked his ass off in the third period. But there were so many passengers. The Kaprizov thing, though, is very interesting because one, yes, he's 24. So, and yes, he has professional experience in the KHL. So he's not your traditional 18-year-old overwhelmed rookie, but there still is a learning curve, I think, going from the regular season to the playoffs in this league and in a series, how teams will focus on you and try and stop you and contain you. And so he does have to learn those things. But to go back to game one, in game one, his line did a ton. And I give Kaprizov credit because he obviously scares the Golden Knights. That Hartman, as a byproduct of that, had a great game and had a ton of scoring chances. Now, he didn't score, but he still had I think NBC's telecast said, Declan, 6 high danger chances in that game. So that to me was sufficient. The last two games, that line, I don't think has done nearly enough, not even close. And I think there has to be a happy marriage of how this is going to work, where yes, the Wild needs to find a way, the coaching staff, they're going through film. They have to find a way to combat what the Golden Knights are doing to Kaprizov. The second part, though, is Kaprizov also has to take a step here himself. And like, he's got to fight through this. He seems like, and this is not good, but it happens to a lot of guys, I think, who, especially skilled guys who find out how tough the playoffs are, Dex. He seems like a guy who took a lot of abuse probably in game one. And I don't mean like gooning it up abuse. I just mean like he got hit or bumped a lot.
Yep.
And the last two games feels like he is taking a step back. So like, I don't know if this was a pie chart of effort. I don't know how much of that pie chart falls on the Wild and the Wild coaching staff and how much falls on Kaprizov. But if a step is not taken to find ways to come back at what the Golden Knights are doing to you, you're going to be done quick here. Like, I just don't, I don't see somebody else aside from Fiala a bit. I don't see somebody else picking up the torch here and it being, well, Nick Bukestad certainly was great tonight and scored 3 goals. I mean, Kaprizov is your guy. He is absolutely key. And then Fiala second. And after that, it's sort of a mixed bag.
So there's only been one instance in the regular season where Kaprizov went 3 games without a point, and that was March 18th to 22nd. 2 of those games were those disastrous games in Colorado where the Wild got absolutely spanked. And in those 3 games combined, he was a -6 with only 5 shots on goal, playing 18 minutes a night too. So, I mean, he was playing top line minutes. That was the only instance this season where he was really shut down for a 3-game stretch. So you'd like to think that, all right, he's been shut down for 3 games. Something will wake up here. However, you're not going from Colorado to Anaheim where you can start to wake up. You're in the postseason right now, right? Like, you're in the playoffs where it's a completely different beast and animal. Mm-hmm. And a good team like Vegas did a very good job of shutting him down. I like to think that even with how staunched Vegas, and that was their best offensive game they have played, I think, against the Wild all season, by far. I mean, regular season and playoffs. They shut down the Wild throughout 40 minutes of that game. They had 9 shots on goal. They couldn't get anything towards Fleury. But for the first 20 minutes, they were lackadaisical, and the Wild capitalized. So that's what's so hard it's hard to project what type of performance you can get in the playoffs because it is a completely different beast. But you have to figure out a way to get him going. And if that means, putting Fiala there instead of Zuccarello, try it. If that even means, and they did this a little bit yesterday, if that means putting Ek with Kaprizov, try that even. Absolutely try that. I know that lines works really, really well, but if there's an offensive zone face-off and you're down a goal or you're tied, try that out. You have to try things out. You have to I wouldn't say try anything and everything in Game 4 because you have a little bit of leeway, and if everything goes appropriately, you'll even up the series. But if you don't win this game, I mean, I think the writing's on the wall that you're going to get bounced.
And you do have to find ways, or try to, as well as changing the personnel that's with Kaprizov potentially, to finding ways to free him up, to try and get creative. I mean, if the Golden Knights are well coached, so odds are if you're successful, they'll come back in game 5 and combat that. I get that. But like, this is also dependent on watching film and finding ways to put Kaprizov in a position that comes as close to what he regularly saw, right? And I'm talking against good teams, because that's on the coaches, and you can find ways, I'm sure. I mean, you've got last change here. That should help you technically. So, but he's going to have to realize that some of the plays that he made, and they were spectacular during the course of the regular season, simply aren't possible now, and accept that and move on and not get frustrated, but keep going. Hey, a couple things about tomorrow's game as well, or tonight's game, since we're recording this on Friday for Saturday. Cam Talbot's play. Cam Talbot, I am not faulting for 1 second for that loss. His team collapsed in front of him. They were horse bleep. So this is not. Did you notice though? I went back and watched the goals. At least 2 of the goals that were more planned plays, not broken plays, were blocker side, including the 4th goal, I think, by William Karlsson, where Spurgeon goofed up and lost that puck. That's a bad play by him. But they went. The first goal by Stone, which, by the way, was from the slot. That's an incredibly tough shot to stop. I'm not saying that, but both of those guys went high blocker side. And here's the thing that they saw. I do believe. So where the flower is so great, in fact, if I can show you on camera here, I'll give you a little demonstration. Where the flower is so great is the flower plays slightly off center at times, to give you, thank you.
Yeah.
So like, let's say where I'm pointing here is my glove side goal. Okay. So Flower gives you the illusion that there's glove side room because he's a little bit off. Okay. But he wants you to shoot glove side because he knows he can make that save. He can make the save. Okay. So he gets the glove out. That's possible glove side cat quick, which, by the way, for Flower's age, 36, I believe, is incredible. But Dex, if that's blocker side, you're just getting beat.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't flash the blocker. You don't fool. If they've seen something where you are exposing some blocker side or high blocker are just a little bit weak, that's not I was trying that on purpose and they beat me. That's a problem that has to be fixed a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I did see that they shot on at least 2 of the goals high blocker side, which is a tough save to start with. But I'm just saying, I wonder if that's where, because I felt that there were times during the course of the regular season, Dex, where Talbot struggled a little bit, sometimes high glove side too, which is where Fleury's so good.
Yeah.
But I just saw that, and I'm wondering if we're now going to see a trend where if there are more set plays or plays where the guy comes like Karlsson did off the wing, where we are going to see them go high blocker side, and if Talbot can make adjustments against that as well. Did you go back and watch the goal that they scored? I think it was the 2-1 goal off the Nick Holden shot.
No, I did not.
Okay. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can find that goal. I got my notes right here. All right. So that was the goal at 15-19 of the second period that tied it at 2-2, I do believe. So the defenseman, Holden, and I don't know if this is from practicing at the X or from the fact that these two teams played so much that the Golden Knights know the building now. He purposely, and the more I watch this, I'm convinced it was a play that they had talked about. So it's not odd for a defenseman to miss the net on purpose, but he missed the net by a ton. Like, he used it as a pass off the boards, and they must know that the boards are pretty jumpy there, which I think hurt Dubnyk at times. And I want to say it was the lower dasher. He got it off that thing and it hit perfectly and bounced out front. Go back and watch that goal. It's an I think they knew exactly what they were doing. Now, the percentage chance it was going to work were probably not huge.
Well, yeah.
But But go back and watch that, because he in no way, shape, or form is trying to direct that puck towards the net. And it looks like he's trying to direct that puck right towards a certain area of the boards that they know have some bounce. And that sucker kicked right back out front. And that's the one where I think it got backhanded from the slot. I think Talbot might have got a sort of a glove and deflected it, but it still went in the goal. That's one of the nicest plays I've seen. And in an opposing building, that's a hell of a play.
Yeah, look, I don't fault Talbot at all. Yeah, through the first 3 games, he's played great. In general, to your in-depth goalie breakdown there, by the way, bravo.
Street hockey goaltender, all
yeah,
pro, Tretiak.
Boot hockey runner-up senior year at St. Paul Central, so I understand.
You were no Zolgad.
I was no Zolgad.
Don't kid yourself.
No, that's okay. I was no Tretiak, but that's all right. I do think if you're going to attack a goalie, blocker sides, I mean, that's always usually going to win. Blocker side is going to be more vulnerable than glove side. Typically, not always. I'm not saying it's completely black and white. But the boards at the X are weird. That's how the Wild got eliminated by the Blackhawks in Game 6, 7 years ago.
Right.
Just a weird, awkward play. And again, a player like Kane didn't do that awkwardly. He knew what he was doing, and he knew that if he got that puck on a rebound, he can beat the goaltender, and that's what happened. I think in general, Talbot has been the least to blame. I know you had that sentiment too. I think most Wild fans do as well. Yeah. Gotta get going. And yes, this does kind of unfortunately remind me of a Twins playoff series. And well, at least we won a damn game. But at the same time, I wasn't expecting us just to win a game. I was expecting a possible series and upset. So
the 2-2 goal by the way was scored by Patrick Brown off that Holden shot at 15-19 of the second period. And to your point about the boards, that same goal, which is the goal that the Wild shoots at twice per game, that's the third period play where the puck bounced, I think, off those boards to Foligno out front. Mm-hmm. And I love him. I mean, that guy works his ass off, but he's just not skilled enough to make. I mean, that's a play that Kane made, right? Yeah. Like that puck came off and he had to contort himself. It was impossible. Like it takes a star. I mean, Kaprizov, I think, has a shot, but that puck came off and did the same thing. And it was a 3-2 game at that point, and Foligno was like handcuffed by it. But that's what you're talking about. Like if that's a Kane or a Kaprizov, you've got a chance on a really fluky goal. And it seems like the boards at that end are lively. So final thoughts?
Final thoughts. Even this damn game up, please, because if you don't, I think you're really dead in the water. I think if you go back to Vegas down 3-1, you're dead in the water. And the Wild have come back from 3-1 before. We did that too. We did that 17 years ago.
Not picking on the announcers. I have to see them. I'm not picking on the announcers. They're my good friends.
I'm not picking on the announcers. In fact, I did have to watch a certain local broadcast yesterday. My Chromebook would not give me the NBC Sports feed.
What?
So I did have to watch the local feed, which I didn't want to do, but I wasn't going to be too much of a...
It's my guy, Wes Walls.
Wallsy's great.
I like Wallsy.
No problem with Walls.
Walls is good.
Walls is good.
Prediction. Game 4.
Wild win 2-1. I just think they're going to be still suppressed with scoring, but I think they win low scoring. I think 2-1. 2-1.
If they don't come back and win this game and play lights out for 3 periods, then I got real problems with them. Yeah. Wild scores 4 goals in this game. Like, I mean, they should have scored 4 or 5 last night. They had 2. They damn near had 3 in the first period. Wild scores 4 goals. They win 4-1.
Okay.
They win 4-1. Hold on a second before I'm done. I want to renew my purge. This is my purge of Game 3. Hold on.
Okay.
And now I'm feeling so good that I broke out the 2003. It's got coffee or something on it.
About to say there's some type of stain.
2003. Stop. State of Hockey flag. All right. Say your thing, and we'll talk to people after Game 4.
Pass, shoot, score.